big camera is watching you.
Private companies creating Big Brother and then convincing us to opt in.
Private company sells license plate surveillance tech to law enforcement.
Their license plates are scanned, their faces are being scanned.
Every camera in your home is live streaming right back to some company's server, and it's not just them watching. They're sharing your data with their partners, advertisers, and even your government. So I looked into this. And it turns out your cameras, motion detection, the whole setup can run completely offline in your own home without needing a subscription. And I wanna show you exactly how to get all this set up, what equipment you need, how to reuse your own cameras, recordings, and accessing all of this outside of your home. Nothing leaves your house unless you say so. There's two big reasons why I'm making this video. The first one is the absolutely ridiculous cost of subscriptions. I've been on a journey this year to cut out as many subscriptions as I can, and home cameras are by far the worst offenders in this field. Yeah, there's a reason they sell these cameras so cheap. It's because you need a subscription for literally anything. People detection, recordings, motion detection, or if you're a Wyze camera owner, you know that they'll make the free detection so crappy that it's basically useless, so you have to upgrade. Combine that with the constant price increases on the subscriptions, and now I'm stuck paying to be able to use a thing that I already bought. And the second is privacy. Now, companies like Ring and others have already been giving footage to the police and advertisers all the time now without your consent. It's not like a crazy conspiracy anymore. They do it. But a more recent story really caught my attention. Now, there's been the story of Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, who was kidnapped and has been missing for almost a month now. Really tragic situation. It's a really messed up story. And if you have information about this, please contact the proper authorities. But something stood out to me about this story. As it turns out, investigators were able to pull recordings from her Google Nest camera and grab video recordings of the kidnappers. The thing is though, she hadn't paid for her Google Nest subscription in months. Now, obviously this is a good thing because they were able to find a source, a lead, right? But if they were able to do that for her, imagine what other footage of your home is being stored without your knowledge, even if you stop paying for the service. And these are real world examples of surveillance happening in our society right now, not in some crazy cyberpunk dystopian land, no, right now. But we can do something about it. There's a lot of setups now, and even possibly some of your own hardware that can be repurposed to be used offline with zero interception from outside people. Now, I know that some people have crazy setups with like 14 wire cameras all around the house, CCTVs, full NVR racks and all that. Those setups are great, but that's not what this video is. This video is specifically for people who maybe just have like maybe 1 or 2 Wyze cameras, or maybe a Ring doorbell, or they rent an apartment and just want a setup that doesn't require a subscription or sending your data to some random servers. If that's you, awesome, then that's exactly what we're gonna build here. But first, bear with me, we gotta pay some bills. If you're like me, you probably hate making phone calls and talking to people just to be able to make a doctor's appointment. I don't wanna talk to anyone, bro. I barely wanna do this in the first place. But you gotta take care of your health, right? It's just that dealing with figuring out who to call, finding your insurance provider, being stuck on hold, the process sucks. And I probably bet it's why you've been putting off seeing a doctor. Well, now there's a better way with our sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a completely free service designed to help you find the perfect health professional for you without having to make 40 different phone calls. You can search by location, profession, in person or online, and even filter by which ones take your insurance. You can check out verified patient reviews from other people that have already met with them, and when you're ready, you can book an appointment to see them right then and there, and in some cases, even as fast as 72 hours after booking the appointment. And with over 150,000 different providers from all types of stuff, from general doctors, dentists, eye doctors, whatever you need, I promise that you'll find someone that's right for you. Scan the QR code up here, or click the link in the description to give it a try. It's free. And thanks again to ZocDoc for supporting the channel so we can keep making cool videos like this. So what do you actually need to get up and running? Well, because we're not relying on outside servers anymore, that means we're gonna need our own server. Don't worry, don't let the word server scare you. It's not complicated. It could be something as simple as a cheap used mini PC or an old laptop. But just know it has to be low powered and always online all the time for this to work. Running this on your home computer wouldn't be ideal because if it goes to sleep or something, the whole system shuts off. So just a cheap, really low powered used PC works great. I have a whole video on this if you want to find out where to get started on this. Watch that once you're done here. But if you just want a recommendation on what to buy, check the description. I'll link some really cheap options in there. So we got our server hardware. So what do we actually do with it? Well, usually at this point, you'll want to remove Windows off of it and install an operating system that's designed for servers. What makes these operating systems different from just basic Windows is that they're extremely lightweight and can be accessed and controlled from anywhere using just a web browser. So you can just chuck it next to your router, press the power button, and you never have to think about it again. I personally really like ZimaOS as it's super user-friendly and made to be super simple to navigate. It also has an app store that can let you just one-click a lot of the apps that we're going to be talking about today. And to make it easier for you, I even made a whole tutorial on how to install it on any PC over on my Patreon. It's completely free though, don't worry. And that's actually kind of it for hardware, funny enough. Maybe some hard drives if you really want to store a lot of footage, but that's really it. I know the upfront cost might be a bit higher, but it is so worth it in the long run, I promise, especially since it can run more than just your cameras. Okay, so there's two approaches to how we can self-host our own cameras. One of them is just trying to get away from subscriptions for stuff like person detection and clip recording, playback, etc. And the other is full on, completely blocked off from the rest of the world where only you can access it. But before I can show you those things, I need to address the cameras themselves because I'm sure a lot of you are wondering if they can reuse their existing cameras or they have to buy new ones or how does that work? So all these little cameras, all that they do is just emit a stream of video somewhere through your internet. And then it connects to your internet to send that stream of video over to a company service for processing, stuff like checking for people, movement detection, storing recordings, etc. And then once it's done, sends that info back over to your phone or internet or whatever to show you what's happening. So when you open your camera app to check what's going on, it goes to the camera, then the company server, then back to you. This is what you're paying for when you pay for a subscription. It's just them managing and watching over your stream 24/7. But what if we just cut them out from that completely and replace it with your own server back at home? So instead of sending the video stream through their cloud servers, it goes through your server instead to scan for people, pets, etc., without having to phone back home to the company's servers. That's what we're doing when we say self-hosting our own cameras. This is called an RTSP stream, and it's the most common stream that these cameras tend to emit. It's funny because if you can get a hold of this stream, you can paste it as a URL on any video player and it'll just work. So we need to find a way to get a hold of that stream so we can do cool custom stuff with it. Okay, so how do we get that stream? Well, there's cameras that actually allow you to just grab the stream no problem and then do whatever you want with it. Now there's plenty of options, but my personal pick for this is Reolink. Now, full disclosure, they sent these to me, but I was using these at my own house before I even reached out because these cameras are built to be hosted offline. And while they do have a subscription for stuff like recording history, we're not gonna be using that. And we never have to connect you to the outside internet if we don't want to. This is honestly my best pick for people trying to move away from the Ring ecosystem because the quality is great. They have options for doorbells and home security cameras, and they're like the same price as the other cameras too, which is crazy. Plus, they're super simple and plug and play for what we're gonna be using them for. I was so surprised that they don't even ask you to create an account when using the app. That's how dedicated they are. So you can set up the camera, make a username and password for the camera, find the camera's IP address, and then just paste that into whatever app you want. And look, it's super easy. If you're gonna buy brand new hardware for this, honestly, the Reolink cameras were by far the easiest to set up. I'll link some cameras in the description. Now, other cameras like Ring, Google Nest, and Blink won't let you have that link. They don't want people touching this, and they will not give you any easy way to get that stream link. But there is still ways to grab it using an app called Scrypted, with a Y, because they want to be special. Now, this app can do a lot of different stuff for your cameras, but the most important feature for us is that it has a bunch of plugins to connect to all types of different cameras, and then can grab all of the stream links for you. And if the camera company has the camera really locked down, Scrypted will make its own stream link, so that way you can still go play around with it and plug it into whatever app that you want. And they have plugins for all types of different cameras, so odds are they have some that'll work for you. Now, the only thing I'd mention is if you have a lockdown camera with a battery in it, these kind of suck for this solution because they tend to sleep to save battery, and if it's asleep, that means it's not streaming. And while we can force it to force stream all the time always, if it's constantly streaming, it's gonna drain your battery in like 2 hours. It's just not worth it. So if you have a Ring camera, well, honestly, you should be ditching that thing anyways. But yeah, battery-powered cameras, you're better off just buying new hardware. And by the way, this app is just a one-click install in the Zima App Store, so super easy to get up and running too. Okay, so that's pretty much it for cameras. It really is just a matter of somehow grabbing that stream link that your camera outputs. So if you have a camera that'll just give you the stream link like Reolink, this whole process becomes a lot easier. But otherwise, use Scrypted to grab the link. Got it? Oh, right, you also have to subscribe for this to work. I totally forgot about that part. Come on, I earned it. It took so long to figure out how all of this stuff works. Okay, now that we've got cameras out of the way, let's go over method number 1. You love your cameras, but just want to get rid of those crappy apps that your camera made you download. That's kind of where I was a couple years ago. I bought Wyze cameras for my apartment and I really like them. Hardware-wise, the quality is really good. They're super tiny and they were really cheap when I bought them. They were like 25 bucks or something. But over time, they started charging you for pretty much anything useful in the camera, and the app just wasn't great, honestly. But the hardware was still phenomenal. So how can we repurpose these things? Well, like I said, we can just hop on a Scrypted and download the Wyze camera plugin. Then we can just sign in using our credentials. Some companies like Wyze will need an API key in order to run the camera through Scrypted. Usually you just gotta look up how to get that key. Now this is important because I'm sure you've noticed, because we're still signing in using our Wyze email and password, that means yes, our footage is still running through their servers. So keep that in mind. And since we're still using their API key that allows us to actually access our camera through here, there's no guarantee that the API key will be around forever. There have been stories in the past of companies being acquired and then deciding, actually, you know what, nah, they don't need those API keys anymore, completely breaking people's self-hosted setups. Sometimes even revoking them right alongside a new subscription launch. That's so evil, dude. So just keep that in mind. Because we're still reliant on their services, there's no guarantee this won't be taken away from you one day. If that bothers you, definitely consider buying different cameras. So once we got it running in Scrypted and can see your camera just fine, now we can change a whole bunch of settings like bitrate, codec, etc. But here's the really fun part. Scrypted also has a HomeKit plugin, meaning that we can take any camera that's running through Scrypted and give it its own HomeKit QR code and run it through our home app. Even cameras that don't support HomeKit out of the box, which is so cool. This makes it way easier for other people in your family to get on board. To them, absolutely nothing changes. And here's the really cool part. Apple has something called HomeKit Secure Video. That's basically Apple's own built-in video processing for events. So if you have an Apple TV, HomeKit surprisingly uses that as the brains for video processing, meaning as long as your Apple TV and your cameras are on the same network, it can process the feed of your cameras and give you notifications for people, pets, and record clips and store them on your iCloud for up to 10 days, which is super duper nice. Yeah, I honestly didn't know Apple did this. What a smart way to process video, honestly. Yeah, just use a TV box with an iPhone chip on it. It also means you get integrations with the rest of your Apple ecosystem, like Siri, automations, etc. So if someone is detected at your door or something, you get notifications on your TV, on your phone, whatever. And if your camera has a mic, yes, you can totally use that too. And in case you're wondering, how do I access these cameras when you're not home? Well, your Apple TV also serves as a bridge hub, so it'll automatically configure itself so you can access the feeds even when you're not home. The big reason your camera didn't come integrated with HomeKit Secure Video is because usually they don't want to pay the licensing fees for it. But with Scrypted, you can add it to any camera, and it is so easy. It's also the easiest way to get things running if you share this setup with your family, because you don't have to explain anything to them. You just tell them, go open the home app, our cameras live there now. And that's it. And as a nice bonus, HomeKit Secure Video is also end-to-end encrypted. The only downside I see here is that you do need an iCloud account and an Apple TV to be able to run the fun people detection and stuff. And well, this setup also only works on Apple ecosystem devices. But don't worry, I have a solution for Android people next, don't worry. That's all this method really is. It's just Scrypted, plugin for your camera, and the HomeKit plugin. That's it. Now remember, this setup is still reliant on outside services. If you're okay with that and just want to get away from those stupid subscriptions or the crappy app that your camera might use, then go have fun. But what if you want to go completely isolated from everything? Well, that's where method number 2 comes in. People who want a completely offline setup so the only communication is between you and your hardware, where everything like recordings, people detection, object detection is all running locally. So in our Apple HomeKit method, we still have control over all the cameras and hardware, but Apple service is still doing all the processing and recording stuff for you. You don't have any control over that. So we need to find something that can still do all of that for you, detecting cars, faces, etc., even if it's not connected to the internet. Well, let me introduce you to Frigate. It's a self-hosted app that's basically a replacement brain for your cameras. Instead of using cloud servers, it uses your hardware to process videos for people, movement, etc., monitor events, do continuous recordings for your cameras, and a lot more stuff. Now, I should mention, Frigate isn't on the ZimaOS App Store, so you have to install it manually. But I promise it's not that hard. I'll leave a guide in the description, or let me know if you want a proper tutorial on how to use it. Once you get set up, it's really easy to get started. If you have a real-link camera, just make sure in your camera settings you have all the streams that you want already enabled. Then in Frigate, you just add your camera using the camera's IP and its username and password. And that's it. And if you have a camera that you're importing from Scrypted, you can just hit Other down here and paste the RTSP link in there. And look, Frigate will automatically find the streams that the camera outputs. I'd suggest adding all of them, even if we don't need all of them, because we can use the main high-res stream as our recording stream and the lower-res one as our detection stream. And that's it, your very own locally hosted security setup. And look, Even the controls for cameras work and everything. Now, right out of the box, there's a whole bunch of things you can configure. You can have constant 24/7 recording for your cameras and have it set to auto delete the oldest days so that way you can have like a 7-day backup, 2-week backup, 30-day backup, whatever. Now, I need you to be aware of the storage space needed to do this because I haven't seen a lot of people mention it. So this camera I have right now has a very basic stream. It's nothing too crazy. It's pulling about 500 kilobits per second on average. It's not a lot, right? Well, if I want to have this thing recording all day, that comes out to 5.4 gigs of data. Set it to a week, and that goes up to 37 gigs of data. At a full month, that's 162 gigs of storage. And that's just for one camera. So if you have like 2 or 3 cameras continuously recording, dude, you're gonna need like minimum 600 gigs just for recording. Yeah, there's a reason companies are charging so much for their storage subscriptions. So consider what your needs are, and if you got the storage to pull it off, then great. Otherwise, set up your Frigate accordingly, maybe like 7 days or something. Frigate also has an amazing object detection feature that goes way past just basic person and motion detection. You can set it to recognize faces, track where a person is going, cars, license plates, packages, face recognition, what time a car leaves and arrives at a location, and a lot more. And you can get super custom with this stuff too, with custom detection zones, camera auto tracking, and just so much more stuff that we'd be here all day if I actually showed you every single thing it could do. I mean, here's just a really small list of all the things that Frigate can auto detect on its own. Wait, why is toilet on there? They even have semantic search. You could literally just say something like, oh, show me vids of guy holding a UPS package. And it'll just know exactly what you're looking for. And again, all of this is local, completely offline. It's being processed by your hardware. None of this leaves your setup. Now, because this is really processing intensive, you need to have a pretty recent setup to be able to do this stuff. People used to use these little Google Coral TPU USB things that have chips to process this type of stuff, but nowadays they're kind of old, they're expensive and hard to find, and they're end of life from Google's side, so they're not getting any more support. So Frigate no longer recommends buying these. That's okay though, because Frigate already has models that can run this stuff pretty well as long as you have an Intel CPU with decent integrated graphics. Especially because the more modern ones from 2018 have special transcoding chips that help Frigate a lot. Frigate suggests at least something with a 6th gen Intel CPU or newer. This mini PC that I bought for like $70 has a 9th gen CPU, so yeah, no problem at all in this machine. Now Frigate does have a subscription service that I should mention because I saw it and I didn't realize it was a separate thing from just regular Frigate. So all of the stuff that I just mentioned works without a subscription, completely free, running locally. However, they do have a paid subscription called Frigate Plus that gives you access to a constantly updated pool of detection models that users have worked together to create and tag, so that way everyone can benefit from them. So that way you can get super specific detections of animals, people, car types, etc. Now, they say it's a subscription, but you keep access to the trained models even when you unsubscribe. So it's really more like you're buying better models for $50, and that's really it. And according to their documentation, that's kind of how they want you to use it. So again, completely optional if you want to use that, but I figured I'd explain it because I thought Frigate was a paid service. It's not. Okay, so what about notifications? I mean, we still want to get pinged when someone's at the door, right? So Frigate has a very basic notification system that I think it's all right. If you just want pings when they detect something, it works just fine. The way it's intended to be used is that you add a home screen shortcut to the URL of your Frigate dashboard, and it'll send you notifications from there. It's kind of janky, but it technically works. But that's literally it. You just get a notification saying that something's there, but nothing else. So not many people use that. Instead, what a lot more people do is use an app called Home Assistant. Okay, this is gonna be very brief because Home Assistant is a whole other separate monster aside from this stuff. But basically, Home Assistant is an app that can do a bunch of stuff that's custom for your smart home. So it can do stuff like control your lights, speakers, cameras, etc. And you can customize so much stuff and even turn any device with a screen into its very own smart home dashboard. But that's outside of the scope for this video. All you need to know is you can link your Frigate app to your Home Assistant app. So that way, Home Assistant can see all the little sensors and pings that Frigate has. So when Frigate detects a dog or a person on screen, it'll ping Home Assistant, which will then send you a notification that'll actually look pretty nice and, custom and stuff. Now, I almost didn't end up covering Home Assistant because in order to get notifications working, you have to set up an automation and then define triggers and then tie them to events, then format the message and the thumbnail, then defeat 3 UASC bots in perimeter. But I found out you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore because the community made blueprints that does all of this for you. And it can be installed in like 2 clicks. You just make a new Frigate notification, pick the camera that you want, what phones you want it to ping, and that's it, you're done. But these blueprints also allow you to get super custom with it too. So you can have it create a GIF for you, or set timers if a person is detected still there after X amount of time, or have it trigger your living room lights, or whatever. Even super crazy stuff like send me notifications if a dog and a person are detected and turn on the lights, but only on Wednesdays. You can do that with this. I'll leave a link to this blueprint in the description. I promise it's not hard anymore. Home Assistant also has custom widgets that you can configure to set up a really nice all-in-one dashboard with live stream feeds, recording galleries, people databases, etc. You're basically remaking your stock camera app. Isn't that kind of cool? So now we have a set of locally hosted cameras running through Frigate that's storing 30-day recordings and processing the footage for object and people detections, which then get passed over to you with notifications. And the best part, this entire chain from start to finish, all of it is entirely local. It's all completely offline, nothing is sitting on someone else's server, and no one gets access to this stuff unless you want them to. Now this is great, but because we're still running on a local IP, the moment we leave the house, this setup doesn't work anymore because you left your Wi-Fi network. I mean, we're not in the same network anymore. So how to keep access to this stuff even when we leave the house? So there's a few options. The easiest one is going to be Home Assistant Cloud. They have their own service that lets you connect to your Home Assistant app from anywhere with zero setup required. And it comes with some other neat features too, like easy integration with voice assistants and Home Assistant Cloud backups. Now, this is a subscription. It's $65 a year here in the US. But I figure I should mention it as an option, especially because some people would rather support self-hosted software than another Amazon Ring subscription. The next option is a free app called Tailscale. The best way I could describe what this app does is, you know how your phone and your server can only connect to each other because they're on the same home network? Well, Tailscale makes a pretend network that makes it look like your phone and your server are still on the same network, even when you're not home, which means you can still connect to your server from any device as long as you're on the pretend network. It's incredibly easy to set up. All you do is install the Tailscale app on your server and then just sign in. And that's it. That's all you have to do on the server side. Then on your phone side or whatever device that you want to access, you just download the Tailscale app and then sign in there. Now your server has a Tailscale IP that your phone can access from anywhere. So instead of using, 192.168.blah, you can use this IP now when you want to access your server from the outside. And the whole thing is end-to-end encrypted. Tailscale can't read any of the data that you're passing through it. The best part is that Home Assistant gives you a way to actually configure this. So you can set it up so that way when you're at home, you can just use your local IP, but when you're not home, it'll automatically switch over to your new Tailscale IP. Now it just looks like your phone is still at your home network, even though you're running around at like Furfest or something. Look, I know who my average audience member is, okay? It's okay. The downside of this method though is, this only works on devices that you can install Tailscale on. Which means if you want to set this up for mom or something, you got to install Home Assistant, then get the Tailscale app installed, and then set up the internal and external IPs in Home Assistant. Look, I know you're smart, but for family members, it might just not be as plug and play. But this is still a really easy way to get outside access without having to deal with exposing ports or tinkering with your router or anything like that. None of that. And it's free. Now, the third option takes the most setup, but it is so worth it, honestly. A reverse proxy. It's pretty simple. A reverse proxy is just something in between your personal home IP address, so that way when someone on the internet wants to access something on your apps, they only talk to the middleman, not directly to your server, which could expose your IP address and stuff. Now there's a lot of different options for reverse proxy, and if you want to go super crazy, you can even set up your own using an app like Pangolin. But for me, Cloudflare has always been super simple to set up for a reverse proxy. And it's free. You do need a domain to get this set up, like dammit.jeff.com or dammit.jeff.org. This isn't super hard to buy, honestly. You can buy one from a site like Portbun, and if you don't care about keeping the .com, you can even get a domain for as cheap as like $2 a year. These are the only two things that you need at this point, a domain that you bought and Cloudflare. I'm gonna link a really great tutorial on how to get this set up in the description because I can't cover all of it here, but I promise it's really easy. And once you're set up, you now have a site that can be accessed from anywhere. And you can use this for other apps running on your server too. But that's another video. So now you can just tell your family, hey, go download the Home Assistant app on your phone. And when it asks you for a URL, just type in home.ourhouse.com. And that's it. And if you're worried about random people trying to get in, don't worry, you still need a Home Assistant account to actually get into your dashboards. And if you still want to be like super duper secure, Cloudflare lets you require a username and password before you can even enter the site. Don't worry. I've been seeing this general consensus on the internet recently that if you're trying to take care of your privacy, it somehow means that you have something to hide. And I want to make it clear, you're not a bad person for wanting to keep your stuff private. And I have no idea how we even got to that point. Companies and governments are banking on you not knowing how any of this stuff works and just paying the $5 a month to get access to your personal home. And for the people who say stuff like, yeah, but if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. Okay, but what if I did have something to hide? Like, these cameras are inside my house, on my front door, watching my family, in private bedrooms. Does that automatically make it okay to have the inside of my house watched and analyzed by some rando company? Like, there's a reason people lock their doors. People wanting to keep things private doesn't automatically mean it's something malicious. And even so, who decides if something is malicious? What if one day your camera company or your government decides to change the rules and says, actually, we don't like what you're doing, so we're just gonna pull your footage, flag it, and then use it to prosecute you and anyone around you. Now you're probably saying, now Jeff, that would literally never happen to me, I'm fine. Okay, sure. Might not be you today, but maybe tomorrow it's your neighbor, or your gardener, or even just someone walking by. Point is, your cameras don't know the difference. And once it's up in some company's servers, what happens to that footage isn't up to you anymore. But learning how to keep everything locally hosted and deciding exactly where that data goes means that you're not leaving that decision up to anyone else. I really hope this guide helps someone get started with self-hosting cameras. Stuff has been getting worse, and I realized that I do have a platform that reaches a lot of people, and I want to use that platform to help and inform people and use it for good. And maybe you could be the person to help and inform the people around you about subjects like this. We cannot let this information be obscured. If you managed to learn something from this video and you like what I do, please consider supporting my channel over on Patreon. It's the best way to support these videos. And I also have a tutorial on there on how to get your server set up on the software side. Completely free. You don't even have to be a member to access it. Now, there's a lot more that you can do with a server than just security cameras to help you disconnect from even more services like movies, photos, games, and a lot more. If you ever wanted to get into self-hosting your own home lab server, but you didn't know, like, what do you buy, what do you use, what all these terms mean, click over here. I have an awesome beginner's guide on all of that information. I really think you're gonna like it. And thank you for watching.